All right, here we go. So we're not doing a new section today. We're just reviewing for the for the test tomorrow. So we are going to go over quiz 3.5. Most of you got number 1 right. It says find the x and y intercepts. Let's just do it. We've got the whole period, right? So I'm just going to concentrate on this quiz. We've gone over the other quizzes before. So really, if you just study, I think, what have we had? 3 quizzes, I think? I can't remember. But I think we've had 3 quizzes. So basically, the test will be over what's on the quizzes. All right? They might be different numbers, but it's the same exact problems. All right? So it's the same style of problem. It's just different numbers. Some of the test questions will be exactly from the quiz, the exact same numbers. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but some of them, okay, are exactly the same numbers from the quiz. Okay? But every problem on the test, you should recognize it from being on the quiz. Everybody got it? Okay, but the numbers might be different. Might have been a 5 on a quiz and I put a 3 on the test, or whatever the situation. All right, so let's take a look at, oops, let me change my little writing stuff here. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. It says find the x and y intercepts. All right, so here's the problem. You want to find the x and y intercept. So to find the x-intercept, you set what? Go ahead, just tell me. You set y equal to 0. So this would be 3x. This becomes a 0 right here, okay, and then equals 12. Divide by 3, x is 4. But I did ask you to write it as an ordered pair, and you guys did pretty good about that. I don't think anybody wrote it as a single number. Somebody, I don't think, put parentheses around it, but I think you got the problem wrong anyway, so I didn't mark off for that. But I did tell you when I took the quiz. Do you remember me standing up there and telling you when I talked about this problem? I said write it as an ordered pair, and I said I want parentheses and a comma in between. Do you remember me saying that? I remember saying it. And I still had a couple people that did not put parentheses, all right? So please do that. All right, so what was the ordered pair? What's the... 4-0. It's 4-0. Okay? So that's the x-intercept. And then the y-intercept, what do you do to find the y-intercept? Set x equal to 0. So 3 times 0 is 0. So you should have negative 4y equals 12. Divide by negative 4. What's 12 divided by negative 4? 3. And so you write the ordered pair. And I think 1 or 2 people mixed up the order of this, right? I solved for x, which is 4, so the 4's got to go first. Remember we set y equal to 0 first? Then the second one, I set x equal to 0, right? So the x is going to be 0, and what is the y? It's negative 3. So that is your answer right there. Most of you got that right. But I figured we'd go over it anyway.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
You, you marked it right.
All right.
But you said right as 11, 8x, and that's what I wrote.
Now, a lot of people are doing this. Watch. When you write a fraction with a variable next to it, you got to make sure, what was it, 11/8? Yeah. Some people are doing this. Is this, question mark, is this the same as that? It's not. That's not how I like it. Well, it's probably what it looked like to me. Okay, is my guess. Show it to me. Let me see what.
I mean, you marked it right, but like.
I know, just show it to me. I just want to see. Because several people did this, and I marked it on your paper. Okay, I still gave you a check mark, right? Check mark means it's right. But you cannot do this. Technically, if you write it like this, it's wrong, okay? What's another way that you could write it? So this is not the same. But you could write 11/8 x. Do you see how that x is right in the middle of that little line right there? I got to definitely know that it's in there. You may not have meant to put it down in the denominator, but to me it looked like it was in the denominator, okay? So you got to have, leave no, you don't know what the denominator? Well, just show it to me. I'll explain it to you if you show it to me. Because I'm thinking that's what it was. Because several people did that, and I wrote it on several papers. Yeah, it looks like the x is in the denominator. It's exactly what I just said.
I don't even know, like I didn't, like...
Well, but I'm telling you, doesn't it look like x is on the bottom? Doesn't it look like x is on the bottom, right next to the 8?
Yeah, but
okay, that's what I was seeing. That's what I'm trying to say. All right? So it's got to be in the middle. It cannot be down here on the bottom, okay? And his and several other people, it looked like the x was on the bottom, all right? You could also write it like this. Everybody watching? You could write it 11x over 8. That would be perfectly fine because x is in the numerator. Okay, you could put it out front or behind, whatever next to it, okay, right here to the right of it. But it's got to be like in the middle. It's got to be a little bit bigger too. So don't put the x in the bottom. That's all I'm trying to say right there, okay? A lot of you guys are doing this as well. 11/8 x. Don't do this. Don't write your fractions like this when you do math, okay? Back when you're a little kid, you could get away with this. But there's so many things that we do with fractions. We add and we got to find a denominator, numerators. Don't write it with a little slanted line like this, okay? Put the 11 on the top, put the 8 on the bottom. Everybody got it? Okay, so I don't know what else I can say to explain that to you. All right, so just make sure that you do write it properly. I did give it to you, okay? If you wrote this, okay, I put a check mark, all right, and you got it right. If you got the other stuff, it's not the whole answer, but you get the idea. All right, enough of that. Number 2. Most of you got number 2. It says write the slope-intercept form. So somebody tell me what the slope-intercept form is. That's it. That's slope-intercept form. Okay, so our answer has to look like this, except we're going to put a number in for the m, and we're going to put a number in for the b. Okay, the b is the m is the what? It's the slope, and the b is the y-intercept. Okay, so that's the slope, that's the y-intercept. That's why they call it, excuse me, the slope-intercept form, because it's got a slope in here, and it has one of the intercepts, which is the y-intercept. Okay, let's take a look at it. 3x plus y equals 1. Really only one step and you're done with this, okay? One little step. Again, you got to get y by itself. So what is with the y? The 3x's. So I get rid of the 3x by doing what to it? Subtracting it. So if I subtract it from this side, it goes away, correct? But what do I have to do to the other side? I've got to subtract it. Now, you could put 1 minus 3x. Technically, I'd give that to you. I don't think anybody did that. But you could put 1 minus 3x. But what's a better way? You always want to put this x first, okay? So it's going to be negative 3x and then plus 1. So that's the best way to write it. If you would have written it 1 minus 3x, I'd still give it to you. But this is the proper way to do it because this is our form. Okay, this is the way you want it to look. Okay. Subtract 3x from both sides. Just get y by itself. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get y by itself, okay? And move everything to the right side. Go ahead.
If x is negative 3, then you do plus 3x, and then it would be y.
Yeah, if this was a negative 3x plus y, you'd add a 3x, and this would be 3x, positive 3x plus 1, correct. All right. Okay, here's the one with the 11/8 thing on there. So this is 11x minus 8y equals negative 48. All right. So again, slope-intercept form. What do we have to do? We got to get y by itself. Now this is a little bit more complicated. You got 2 steps to do on this. You only had 1 step on this one because y was already by it. You know, you didn't have a number in front of the y. Right here, we got a negative 8 in front of the y, so it means we got to do something else to get rid of that. Okay, let's do this. Let's get rid of the 11x first. Well, it's the same step as what we just finished doing. We just subtracted a 3x. So in this case, we what? Subtract an 11x. I always like to put that first and then put the minus 48 right here. Okay, I didn't really do anything to that negative 48. I just pushed it over. Everybody good with that? One more step, and you're basically done. Basically, not exactly, but divide by negative 8. Now, here's where a lot of people went wrong. You got to divide everything by negative 8. Not just this, but everything. Okay, you got to divide both of these things by negative 8. And that's where a lot of the problem came in on this problem. So y equals negative over negative. What's negative over negative? Positive. So you could write 11x over 8, or you could write 11/8 what? X. Make sure that that x isn't in the denominator. Okay, make sure you make it big enough so it's kind of in between the top and the bottom. Everybody see that? Or you could have just written it like this. You could have just written 11x over 8. That would have been okay. But this formula's got x kind of next to the m. You see that? So it just looks a little bit better like that. All right, in a book or something, if they gave you the answer, they would make it look like this. We're almost done. What do we got to do here? Plus what? 48 divided by 8. What's that? It's 6. And it's positive because negative over negative. And that's all you had to do. That wasn't so bad, was it? No, just a little basic algebra, right? This really wasn't even geometry, was it? I mean, it's in a geometry book, but it's, some people call this coordinate geometry, the y equals mx plus b and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of is geometry. But you learned it in algebra, I think. All right, 4 and 5. This is where the problems came in. Really, the first part is kind of like what we just did. It says write it in standard form, but before we put it in standard form, because we're not going to go directly to standard form. What we're going to do is put it into slope-intercept form, and then from that, we're going to put it into standard form. Okay? So let's put it into slope-intercept form first, just like we did on 2 and 3, and then we'll put it in standard form. All right? Now, I do understand that we just went over this the day before we took the quiz, but we did several examples with it. I gave you one problem. I said this earlier. I gave you a problem on the quiz that we did, the exact same problem that we did in class the day before. I put it on the quiz. Does anybody remember that? Did you recognize it when you looked at it? Nobody did? Okay, look at your notes. If you took notes that day, you'll probably, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was on a worksheet or something, okay, and that we had gone over. And let's see, M is 7. So I'm trying to help you out. I really am. Have I really ever put a problem on a quiz or a test that I had not gone over before? Has there anything? No, show it to me. And I could go to the video. Well, actually, I don't put the reviews on the video anyway, so I couldn't go to the video. But every single problem, I'm telling you right now, you don't even have to try to show me. Every single problem on a quiz or a test, we have gone over. It may not have been the exact same numbers, okay, but it was the same kind of problem. All right. Yeah, but you do need to take a quiz. You have to take a quiz that we missed.
Can I do it at lunch because I don't really have much time?
Well, you're going to have to sit out then because we're going over the quiz right now, so you can't be in here for this.
Right.
So what do you want to do?
I just take it at lunch.
Yeah, you could take it at lunch. Yeah, I only gave him 20 minutes anyway, or 25 minutes. I mean, you got 20 minutes now. Just do it now. If you don't have time, you can come and finish it at lunch. Okay. Do it now, and then you can finish it at lunch. Grab a desk. Grab that desk against that wall. And just take it out in the hallway. But welcome back to school. Isn't that terrible? Walking right in and you got to take a quiz. All right. So what are we doing? We're trying to put this into slope-intercept form. So let's put it into this. But you're probably saying, wait a minute, Mr. Hamrick, I thought you said you got to put it in standard form. Well, you do, but let's put it in slope-intercept form first, and then we're going to put it in standard form. So let's put it into this. They give you, remember doing this? They give you 3 out of the 4 things that you need to know on this right here. Well, they give you the x and the y right here, and they give you the slope, right? And so what am I going to solve for then? If they give you the x and the y and the slope, what can you solve for? The b, the y-intercept, okay? So let's put everything in here. It's just plug and chug right now. All right, so what is the y? It's 2. What is the slope? It's 7. What is the x? It's 1. And now we can solve for b. So let's do this. 2 equals 7 plus b. Subtract 7 from both sides, so what is b? -5. So let's write it like this. Y equals m, which is 7, x minus 5. But this is not the form that I asked you to put it in, is it? I asked you to put it into what? Standard form. And what is standard form? It's ax plus by equals c. Now, we do have some restrictions on this a, b, and c. A, b, and c have got to be all integers, which means they can't be fractions. So you cannot have an answer as a fraction, okay? And a has to be what? Positive, okay? I remember somebody, you got rid of the well, there's no fractions on this one anyway, but on the other one there was fractions, and they got rid of the fractions, but they left this a negative, I think, okay? So got to keep that in mind. All right, let's do this. So we got to get the x's and the y's on the same side, on the left side. So let's do that. Let's move the x over here. Or you could do this. You got a couple options. You could move the y to the right and then move the negative 5 to the left, couldn't you? And then the x and the y are on the same side. Yes? No? Anybody paying attention? Anybody watch what I'm saying? You could take the y and move it over to the right. Okay? That'll keep the 7 positive, right? Okay, so you could do that. And then you just subtract it. Subtract a y from both sides, right? How do you get rid of just a number on one side? You just subtract it if it's positive. No, just subtract a y from here. I mean, look, we did it in the other problem, right? I subtracted a 3x from both sides, right? I subtracted an 11x from both sides, right? I can do that. You with me on that? Where am I? Right here? Here we go. All right, so, but it looks like you're confused on this. I can see it by your expression. So let's just move everything to the left. So if I moved everything to the left, let's move the 7x to the left. How do I get rid of that? I subtract a 7x, and I come over here and I subtract a 7x. Does that make you feel better if I do that? Okay, you guys look confused by me putting this over to the right. So I'm going to move the x to the left. So what do we get? Negative 7x plus y equals what? Negative 5. Whoops, it's a weird 5. Am I done? Is that standard form? It's close. What's the only problem with this? Right, this negative 7, okay, is a negative, all right? Remember, the a, the thing that's with the x, has got to be positive. How in the world am I going to make that a positive? Well, I just multiply it by a negative, not by a negative 7. Okay, I don't have to get rid of the 7. And plus, multiplying by a negative 7 is not going to get rid of the 7 anyway. All I got to do is multiply by a negative, or a negative 1. Okay? But if I do that to the left side, I got to do it to the right side. Okay? Do you see why I wanted to move the y over to the right-hand side? It would have been a lot easier. But, Nate, stop. So what did I just do? I just changed the signs of everything in here. So what's negative? Negative 7. Positive 7. What's a negative? Positive y. It's a negative y. What's this going to be? Negative, negative 5. Positive 5. That's my answer. What do you think? Were you guys paying attention? Doesn't seem like half of you really are. Ben?
If we just move y over to
Yeah, let's do that. Okay? Watch. This is how I would do it. Now you look at this and you say, well, wait a minute. The x and the y are on the left-hand side. But I can just flip them. Okay? I can just swap it. I'll show you. This is what I would do. I would subtract a y from both sides, and then I would add a 5 to both sides. So what would adding the 5 do? It'd put the 5 over here, wouldn't it? And then subtract a y from both sides. So I get that. Isn't this the same as this? Right. So we just write it like this. Right? I just flip the left and the right. Isn't that a lot easier? Okay, that's what I would do. Okay? If you could get that thing with the x, that coefficient with the x to be positive, that's what I would do. I think it's a lot easier doing it that way. Either way, you get the same answer. All right, let's do one that's a little harder than that one. Number 5. Same basic problem, but it's a little bit tougher. Here, pass these. Can you pass these? All right, let's take a look at number 5. They give you a point. That's your x and your y. And they give you a slope. That's your m. And what is it, 5/3? All right, let's do this. Here we go. Why are we all talking? I'm showing you what's on the test. So first thing I want to do, I want to find the equation of a line. And slope-intercept form is the way to go right now. And then we'll change it to standard form. So let's plug in stuff. There's 3 things here that I can plug into this little formula. What is the y? 5. What is the m? It's 5/3. That's being multiplied by x. What is the x?
5.
What? It's 3. It's 3 over 1. Oh. All right. Why did I put it over 1? Because I noticed that there was a 3 on the bottom. So what's going to happen with these when I multiply them together? They're going to cancel out, okay? They'll cancel out. It's not cross multiply. Okay, that's something different. They do cancel out though. So let's see what we get. 5 equals, this 3 divides into this 3. If you wanted to, you could go 5 times 3 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is what? 5. Okay. All right, you with me so far? Guys, Braden, I'm up here. So let's get b by itself. Pretty easy. Subtract a 5 from both sides. What's b equal to? It's not nothing. It's something. 0 is something. It's a number. It exists. Okay, it's not nothing. All right, that's for another day. So let's write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals 5/3 x plus 0, correct? But is this in standard form? No, for a couple reasons. We need the x and y to be on the same side, right? And we also don't want this 5/3, okay? We want it to be a whole number. So just like on that other problem, I would not put this over to the left-hand side because then I got a negative again, all right? I'm going to take this y and move it over. So if I subtract a y from here, what am I left with? 0. And what am I going to have over here? 5/3 x, what? I subtracted a y from both sides, so it's minus y. If you wanted to write it like this so that it looks a little more like standard form, that's fine. Do I circle this? No. Why not?
Because you're not done.
Why not?
That's a whole number.
It's a fraction. That's right. This has to be a positive whole number. Well, it is positive. That's good. It's just not a whole number. Okay? Okay, so what do I do? What makes this a fraction? What number here makes this a fraction? The 3. That's the only thing I want to get rid of. I just want to get rid of the 3. The 5 can stay there. All right? That's fine. I just got to get rid of the 3. How do I get rid of that 3? Not divide. If I divide by 3, then I get 5/9. Then it's worse than what I started with, right? So how do I get rid of the 3? I put it on top, which means I multiply. Thank you. Okay, I multiply by 3. Now, here's the key. If I multiply this by 3, I got to multiply everything by 3, even the y. So I got to multiply that by 3, and even the 0. I got to multiply that by 3. Well, you know what's going to happen when you multiply that by 0. It's just going to be a 0. What happens here now? The 3's cancel. What am I left with? 5x minus what? 3y equals 0. Is that the answer I gave you? Yep. That's how you do that. You writing these down? I hope so. You might see it on the quiz. You might see the exact, or the test. You might see the exact same problem.
Well, are you going to say that? Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying it's going to be, or to tell you the truth, I haven't even made the test up yet.
Might still get it wrong.
All right, on this one, they don't give you a point and a slope. They give you 2 points. And you have to write, you don't have to put it in the standard form this time, so that's nice. You just got to put it in regular slope-intercept form, which is what? Right. All right, for the 57th time, y equals mx plus b, okay, is the slope-intercept form. Now, look here. They don't give you a slope on this one like they did on the last problem, but they do give you 2 points. So guess what we can find? We can find the slope. Let's do that first. Okay? Can you find the slope if I give you 2 points?
Yeah.
You better be able to. Okay? So it's the change in y over the change in x. Remember that? Okay? Or it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or just subtract the y's and put it on top. So let's subtract the y's. Now you got to subtract them in the right order, in the same order, I should say. So you could go 6 minus 0. So if I go 6 minus 0, what do I have to do on the x's? I got to go 3 minus 6. Okay? All right? You got to go in the same order. You could have done this. You could have gone 0 minus 6, but then you would have to do what with the x's? 6 minus 3. All right? So it's the first one minus the second one, or it's the second one minus the first one. But you got to do them both in the same order. Let's see what we get. We get 6 over negative 3. Oops, that's positive 6. I don't know why I put a negative. Probably because I was thinking of what the answer was going to be. What's 6 over negative 3? It's negative 2. So that's my slope. Now, it's just like the problem we did earlier. Okay, number 4 and 5. At least the first part is. Now I know a slope, so where can I put that? I could put that right there. What about the x and the y? Well, I can pick either one of these points. It doesn't matter. I could pick this point, or I could pick this point to put in for the x and the y. It does not matter. You don't have to put them both in. Just put one of them in. Cam, you watching? So what point do you want to use? Do you want to use 3, 6, or do you want to use 6, 0? Yeah, I think 6, 0 might be a little bit easier. Okay? But again, it does not matter. That's my x, that's my y. This is my m right there. So just like the last problem, we're going to throw that into this. So what if I use this point right here, and again, doesn't matter, I could have used this point, and you'd find out you'd get the same exact answer. Try it on your own if you want. So what do I put in for the y? 0. What do I put in for the m? -2, because I just found it up here. I'm multiplying that by x. What is x? 6, right? Plus what? B. All right? Let's do the math. 0 equals -12 plus b. Add a 12 to both sides. What's b equal to? It's 12. Now, we just put it all together. Now I know a slope. I know a y-intercept. Let's just plug them both into this. So we write y equals m, which is -2. I just put an x down, and then plus 12, and that's my answer. Okay? We're running a little short on time, so let me keep going. All right, let's do another one. This is number 7. So 5, 4, and -3, -8. All right, I'm going to go through a little faster now. Again, I would write this down, y equals mx plus b, because you want to look at it, you want to see what can I put in for this, okay? Well, I'm going to put a 5 in for the x and a y in for, or a 4 in for the y, but then I got to find the slope. So let's do that first. Let's find the slope first. So subtract the y's from each other. It doesn't matter what order you subtract them in. I'm just going to go the first one minus the second one. So 4 minus -8. Why is there so much commotion going on? I'm showing you what's on the test tomorrow, and people are not paying attention. Let's subtract the x's now. It's 5 minus -3. Because I don't have to review. You know that? There's nothing in the handbook that says I have to review for a test. I could just tell you when the test is. I told you a week ago, right? I could just tell you that there's going to be a test, and I could just keep on going with the next section if I wanted to. So I'm doing you a favor, really, okay? Nothing says that I have to review for this. So take advantage of it, please. 4 minus a negative is plus, so that would be 12, and this is 8. But we're not going to keep it 12 over 8. What do we do with fractions? We always reduce. 4 goes into this 3 times. 4 goes into this twice, and so it's 3 over 2. That's my slope. And I know a point. So what we're going to do is take one of these points. It doesn't matter which one. We're going to put it in for x and y. Then we're going to put the 3/2 in for the m, for the slope. Which one would you rather put in for x and y? I would definitely say the 5, 4, wouldn't you? Okay, I just would rather not deal with negatives if I didn't have to. All right? Sometimes there's no choice, but on this one there is a choice. So let's put the stuff in. What do we put in for y? 4 equals m, which we just found, 3/2, times x, which is 5. I'm going to put it over 1 because I'm multiplying it by a fraction. And then I put plus b. So 4 equals. Now this one is not as pretty as the other one because nothing cancels out here. So it's just 15 over 2. Okay? Now we have to subtract a 15 over 2. Did I do this right? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking something else. Okay. So I got to subtract a 15 over 2. And I'm going to subtract a 15 over 2 from this. But how do I subtract that from a 4? Well, I need to make it so that it has a common denominator. So the denominator would be 2. How would I rewrite 4? I'd write it 8 over 2. Okay? This is basic fractions, okay? And this is what I think some of you guys are having problems with. I don't think we're taught fractions strongly enough in the lower schools, okay? Because I see this all the time. So this is a very, very simple elementary school fraction problem. It really is. So 8 minus 15 is -7 over 2. and that equals b. I put them all together. I got a slope. I got a y-intercept. Put it all together. Y equals 3/2 x, and then minus 7 over 2. And that's how you get that. Okay? All right. We may not finish them all, so let's do this. Let's do number 9. Because number 8, I think a lot of people got number 8 right. Number 9 was a problem. Let's find the slope-intercept form that goes through this point and is perpendicular to, and it seems like you guys completely forgot about lines that are perpendicular. Tell me something about the slope of two lines that are perpendicular, Abby. That's right. The slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Okay, so now watch. In order to find the slope of a line that's perpendicular to this line, I first have to find the slope of this line. So let's find the slope of this line. I'm going to do it quickly, so watch. I'm going to add a y to both sides just so I don't have to deal with negatives. Are you okay with that? So I'm going to take the 6, move it over here, and that's equal to y. Or I could write it like this. It's the same thing. So what is the slope of the line that they give us? You can just look at it. It's 4. But that's not the slope that we're going to use. If it said parallel, then we would use that 4 as our slope. But that's not the slope that we're going to use. What slope is parallel? Whoops. It's not negative 4. It's the negative reciprocal. Listen to me. Everybody listen. There's joking going on. There's talking. I don't get it. It's the negative reciprocal. So this is a positive 4, so our slope is going to be negative. It's the reciprocal, which it means you flip it. Okay? This is 4 over 1. What if I flip 4 over 1? I get 1 over 4. So our slope is negative 1/4. So many people wrote the slope was 4. It says perpendicular. If it said parallel, then you would use 4 as your slope. But it says perpendicular, so you got to use negative 1/4. So now, let's write our equation. We've done this like 4 or 5 times now. We got a point, x and y. We got a slope, negative 1/4. Let's throw the stuff in here. So the y is negative 3 equals the slope, which is negative 1/4, times the x, which is 2. Put it over 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to solve for b. So this is fraction work. So it's negative 3 equals, this can reduce twice, once. What's that? Negative 1/2. These are not difficult fractions. Both of the fractions where I have a denominator of 2. So I add a 1/2 to both sides. Oops. I add a 1/2. Let's write this. How do we write this with a denominator of 2? It'd be a negative 6, wouldn't it? Negative 6 over 2 is the same thing as negative 3. Let's add them up. Negative 6 over 2 plus 1 over 2 is negative 5 over 2. And that's our y-intercept. That's our b. Now, we know a slope. We know our y-intercept. Put them all together. And then you get negative 1/4 x minus 5 over 2. Okay? Most of you got that number 10 right. If you didn't, talk to somebody that got it right. Okay, and if you didn't get it right, I think I kind of showed you maybe what you did wrong on it. All right, test tomorrow. And listen, keep your...